So good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I am Lisa.
I'm Natanya.
And we are, of course, half of the Monday Morning Cooking Club. And we're pretty excited to be here. There are so many of you here today. We've got almost 500 of you signed up, which is absolutely brilliant. And we are so excited. I feel like we've created this beautiful cooking community that you're all part of. You're all in the kitchen with us. Everyone is connected, and it's a very good thing to do in this time of isolation and lockdown. And I hope it continues post this period, you know, that we can still continue this community because we love it. So please keep sending your photos of everything you've cooked. It's been incredible to see the things over the past few weeks, really.
And it's especially special today to be standing here 3 days before Jewish New Year and baking the quintessential honey cake.
So this to us is the honey cake of all honey cakes. Well, it's actually a take on the honey cake of all honey cakes.
But for me, this is the honey cake of
and
all
we,
honey cakes.
We differ. So the original one was in our first book, Monday Morning Cooking Club, The Food, the Stories, the Sisterhood. And it's called Gina's Hair-Raising Honey Cake. And it came from a friend of ours, Karen Gutman. She got it from her friend Gina Swart in Melbourne. Hey, Gina, if you're watching. And the story goes like this. Gina was making the honey cake in the Mixmaster, and the recipe originally said you put the dry, the wet, and water. So you were alternating putting things in. And Gina was leaning in too close, and her hair got caught on the beater. This was years ago. And it was a very sad story at the time because she lost a chunk of her hair. But we actually now, and Gina also laughs about it, it's quite funny. That is why it's called Gina's Hair-Raising Honey Cake, for that reason. So make sure if you're using the Mixmaster, put your hair up so that you don't have the same problem. Then for our new book now for something sweet, we decided to tweak that brilliant recipe, which has got cocoa in it. That's probably the ingredient that differentiates from most cakes. And we've modified it to this one, which is smaller. It's in a loaf tin. It has spices, ginger, cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg, and it's made with tea instead of water and no cocoa. Same texture, same amazing stickiness, same needs to be made a few days ahead so that it's at its peak. It's just a different version of the same concept. All right, so let's get started. Ingredients. So start with the oven. Oven needs to be on at 180, not fan forced. Just put on your oven now if you haven't already. And these are the ingredients you're going to need. You've all read the sheet, but I'm going to go through them again just to make sure you've got everything. Okay. We need 3/4 of a cup. It's 110 grams of plain flour. 3/4 of a cup of self-raising flour. So 2 different flours for this. 3/4 of a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda or baking soda. That is not baking powder, okay? It's bicarb soda. It's a different thing. Then we need spices. We need 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, ground allspice, and 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg. Beautiful. You're not a nutmeg fan, so you left it out.
I did. I left it out, and I don't think it makes a huge amount of difference. If you like nutmeg, put it in. If you don't, leave it out.
Yeah, same with any of the spices. You know, we've got about 1.5 teaspoons of spice in there, so just put in whatever you like. If you like it more gingery, you'll have a ginger honey cake. You know, that'd be lovely as well. So that's the dry ingredients. Then for the wet ingredients, you need 2 eggs, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. I know sugar's not wet, but it's going in with the wet ingredients. 100 mils of oil, and I'm using grapeseed oil. You can use light olive oil. You can use vegetable oil, canola oil, rice bran oil, any oil without a flavour. Will be perfect. Neutral, whatever you've got. 100 mils of oil, which is 1/3 of a cup plus 1 tablespoon, and vanilla always, and honey. We're going to do 250 grams of honey, and we're going to weigh it straight into the mixing bowl. It just saves mess and difficulty with all the honey not coming out. Just a word of warning's the wrong word, it's too strong, but if you buy a 250 gram of honey in a plastic container, it's really hard to get all the honey out because you can't put that in the microwave because it'll melt and it's horrible. So I always like to buy giant ones like this because I do lots of baking at this time of year, or buy it in glass because then you can actually put the glass jar in the microwave and get every single drop of honey out. And then we're going to need 3/4 cup of tea, hot tea, which is going to be the thing that combines the dry and the wet. I'm just going to remeasure this because I did it in a hurry before. I'll drink the rest.
You can have a tiny bit extra because a little bit's lost on the tea bag.
Okay. All right. So that's 3/4 cup and a tea bag. Any tea you like. Okay. Shall we start with lining the tin? Let's talk tins. For this cake, we recommend a loaf tin. It really bakes the best in a wider loaf tin if you've got, but if you don't have, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Any tin will do as long as you line it well or grease it well and only fill it 2/3 of the way. So let's do this.
Absolutely.
I use this as glue, this canola spray. It's a very good, very good substance to stick baking paper. I think I just do across without the sign, without the
so then I did it
like this one.
Yeah.
So I won't show you that one yet. Yeah. So I'm going to spray the tin. If you do cupcakes, of course, you don't need to spray the tin. And if you do cupcakes, I would recommend either using a few, like Natty did this morning, like 3 cupcake liners, what are they called, patty pans, or put it in a muffin tin. Okay, so everyone's going to line their tin just like this, because it's a very sticky cake. Very sticky cake. Do we use baking paper with a non-stick tin? Yes, I do. Because I don't mind. It just makes it easier to take it out. It makes it easier to travel with it if you have to. It makes it easier to wrap it up as a gift. I think it's an easier thing to have to line the tin, no matter what sort of tin. The actual size of this is 1,500 mils in volume. The volume is sort of the relevant number here, which is 6 cups. So this is a 6-cup loaf tin, and I don't want you to think, wow, she knows all her tins. I don't. I measured it. I measured it the other day because I had to check something. So this is a 6-cup or 1,500, 1.5 litre tin. If you use smaller, you might need to have a couple of patty pans on the side to divide the mixture. Okay. Okay. So Linda says if you soak the baking paper, you don't need to grease the tin, just fit it in wet.
Wow.
Interesting. I've tried that.
Never heard that before. That's a wonderful
Never
tip.
heard that.
Thank you.
Oh, that's very good to know.
We'll
have to try that out.
Yeah.
Question from New Zealand for a gluten-free cake. We tried it last year.
No.
I think it's worth trying. I think
if that's all you cook with and that's what you know as your baked goods, then you'll be used to that texture and that flavour and go for it.
Yeah.
For us, because we use normal flour, to use gluten-free flour, you don't get the same result. So it's a step down for us, and I would prefer not to.
Yeah. Okay.
It's up to you.
So Leora asked about doing it in the cardboard loaf tin. Absolutely. I found with the cardboard loaf tins, I've baked a few of them, you need to cook. I needed to cook it for a bit longer because it doesn't conduct heat like the metal does. Yeah. So just be prepared. You might need to add 20 minutes of cooking time, and they're quite small. The ones that I've got, which were the biggest I could find, are only 1,200 mils. And so I would leave a cup of it out. I'm sorry, a cupcake worth of it out and just bake it in the loaf tin, but it's lovely. And do you grease it or not? I did one not greased and it stuck to it. And I did it, sorry, not greased. I did one not lined in the cardboard and it stuck. And I prefer to line it because I think it's nicer to serve it.
And I've been making it in the cardboard containers just as gifts, and I've lined them all just for the ease of the person that gets it. Then they don't, then they don't have to cut it out.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. And if you use a muffin tin, yes, same temperature, and just adjust the time. Start looking at 20 minutes. You know when this cake is ready because it stops wobbling. Yeah, it's very easy because it's very liquid. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to put all the dry ingredients into one bowl, and we're going to either whisk them together to mix and aerate or sift it, whichever you prefer. So maybe go through everything.
The 2 flours in together. The bicarb of soda. Make sure that's bicarbonate of soda, not baking powder.
I'll take those for you.
And the spices. Oh, and I thought we added a pinch of salt.
We did. It's actually not on my list, and that's right. I'm going to add a pinch of salt.
in it goes.
It should be there as well.
Now,
hopefully it's in the recipe.
You can either sift that into another bowl, or if you don't have a sift handy, just grab a whisk
now
and whisk it up.
If you like my mother of that generation, you will use this, which is a sieve. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Or a sifter. I'm not actually sure what you call it, but it's one of those old-fashioned things which I quite like. Or you can use one of these, a colander. Okay, what's the point of using raising flour instead of just using all-purpose? Because we want an extra rise. This cake has the extra rise from half of the self-raising flour. And if you didn't have self-raising flour, you can convert plain flour to self-raising by adding 2 teaspoons of baking powder, different to baking soda, per cup of flour. Okay.
There's a lot of honey in this cake, 250 grams of it, and that's quite heavy. So
it needs that extra lift.
You need the extra.
Oh, it's the spices.
Yeah.
I got a fright that there were little black dots in the bottom of the flour. I know. It's the spices. Okay.
And the allspice. All right. So I've got my dry ingredients sifted and ready. I'm just going to set that aside. And now we're going to mix our wet ingredients. So we have oil.
So just to remind you all, we used a neutral oil. So not extra virgin olive oil, any vegetable oil that you're happy to use.
It's a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just going to.
Yeah. We just don't really measure it.
I'm going to throw in my 175 grams of sugar.
And we're using caster sugar. We use caster sugar in all baking, but if you've only got white sugar, that's absolutely fine.
And we're going to just stop. I actually now weigh in my honey.
Yeah. This is the fun part. Just someone asked about the flour again. Yes. So 1 cup of plain flour and 2 teaspoons of baking powder equals self-raising flour. So grams? For this, no, it's in pounds. Ounces, yeah. Great. So in this recipe, you need 3/4 cup of flour. So you're going to need 3/4 cup of plain flour and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder to make self-raising flour. And I am just going to, I'm going to get a knife. It's just easier to cut it off.
Yeah. I'm going to weigh in 250.
I'm going to weigh in 250 straight into the bowl. Okay. Yes, that's a good point. We'd always do that. If you're going to measure your honey into another container, oil the container first. Either spray it with olive oil spray or canola spray, or brush it with oil, or measure your oil in there first actually, and then measure the honey. But this is the easiest of it all. You don't have to measure it into anything. It's going straight into the mixing bowl. And it's fun because it's like playing chicken, because you don't want to go much over the 250. And if you go over a little bit, it doesn't matter. Ready?
Yep.
Do you want to do it?
No, you can do it.
Really?
Okay, sure.
Do you want to, okay, yeah. Let's go. All right. So we're at 180, 90, 200.
It actually gets there really fast.
25.
And then you just.
No pressure or anything. 250. Yep. So we've gone to 264.
Oh, that's a lot.
Which is, I'm not concerned about that at all.
But yeah,
it's fine. Okay, so the honey's in there.
And then the last wet ingredient to go in is your 2 eggs. So what I'm going to do is just break them into a glass and mix them together.
Let's do one at a time, because the idea for me of breaking it in the glass is to make sure the eggs are good. Okay, so just chuck it in. We're going to, sorry, Natty, I think that we have to, I think it's really good practice to do that, because if you put otherwise you just ruin other ingredients. And I have had off eggs before. I'm sure many of you have heard my shakshuka story. I'm not going to tell again, but it's always good to do it into a glass first. Okay.
Okay, and I don't want to pour my eggs straight onto the sugar that's in the bowl already. So Lisa, are you going to mix it, or are you going to start mixing?
Yeah, might as well just mix it just so we can talk.
Okay, so just start mixing with whatever.
It's just that we don't want the egg yolks to sit on the sugar while we're waiting. That's the only thing we don't want. So someone said this, why don't we measure the honey first into the bowl so that you can take out if you have too much. I think that's a good point.
You can.
But I guess what I'm thinking is that sometimes you've got to make sure you mix it really well at the bottom to get all the honey that's going to coat the inside of the bowl. Whereas if you pour it onto the other ingredients, I think in my head that it's better for combining, but you're probably right, it would make no difference.
And actually, we just don't mind having 10 grams extra of honey in our cake.
And it's very exciting to see if we can get 250 grams exactly. So everyone should have their dry ingredients and their wet ingredients. Okay, so why don't we want eggs sitting on the sugar? Naomi says, because if you put your egg yolks onto sugar while you're waiting, or your sugar onto eggs while you're waiting to mix them for other ingredients to come in, you will get little granules. Something happens to the protein in the egg yolk, and you get these little hard granules of egg yolk that you can never get out, and it's yuck. So never let your sugar sit on eggs that aren't beaten. That's the only rule around eggs. That's fine. Okay, so I did this cake last week or the week before by hand, like with a whisk and not with a machine. And I have to say the mixture was not quite as good. It wasn't as light. It was very liquidy. It is a liquidy mixture anyway, but I really prefer an electric mixer. So you can do it with this. You can do it with a bar mix, would work fine. You just want to aerate this, or in a stand mixer. We want to aerate it and make it smooth. We want to dissolve the sugar as much as we can. Okay.
So excuse the noise for a moment.
So we're just beating together all the wet ingredients. Okay.
Please?
Sorry?
Is that as fast as it goes?
You don't need to hold it. Just push it on. Goes up to 10.
Whoa.
Quite good.
Yeah, great.
So while Maddie's doing that, hopefully everybody's following along. And you are just whisking your wet ingredients together. That is the egg, sugar, oil, vanilla, and honey together. You haven't put the tea in yet. Tea is still here. Wonderful. It's a good machine, actually.
Fabulous.
Good job, Emma. So what's happening, your mixture should all be the same. It is thick and yellow and lovely with some little bubbles in it. We're not looking for a ribbon or anything fancy here. We just want it really well aerated and foamy, I guess. It's quite foamy.
Yeah.
We could do another, I think, do another 30 seconds, everyone, if you're following along, just to make sure. And I'm going to scrape down the side. Scrape down the sides and give it another drum. Thank you, Rose. Rose says this is such a lovely thing to do together with people from all over the world, wishing everyone a happy and healthy new year ahead. Thank you. We feel the same way. So exactly how I feel. Yeah. Alrighty.
This is as good as a...
It really is. It's a good machine.
So
it's got so much power. That's a Cuisinart. I bought it. Yeah. When my daughter moved out of home, I gave her my handheld Breville.
Oh.
So she got the Breville and I got a new one. So that's a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, you need subtitles when we're mixing. Oh, because you're all mixing too. Yes. I know. Do you know what? You can actually get that. There is this thing you can do on Zoom where you get the, think of that maybe next time. We do try to avoid having lots of mix masters going because it's too noisy for everybody. So I just want to check that everybody's up to where we are and make sure that we're ready for the next step, which is the delicious part. We've got all the dry ingredients, which is the flours, the spices, and the baking soda in a bowl. We've sifted it together and it's there. Then we've got the wet ingredients, which is the eggs, sugar, honey, vanilla, and I forgot the salt is in there as well. Eggs, sugar, honey, vanilla,
oil.
Okay, so is everyone up to where we are? And Alana says she's cooking with her 9-year-old to brighten their day. Oh,
beautiful.
Yes, as they limp towards the end of homeschooling. Yeah.
So you should have your 3/4 cup of tea ready to go. It doesn't matter if it's still warm. I've been doing it all week with hot tea, and it's been fine.
So someone said, Alana said that. Sarah said her mixture's not as light as ours. So give it another beat. You can't really overbeat this, I have to say.
Well, not at this point.
Yeah, hot or cold water. It is hot water for the tea, and you want it to be warm. It was more important for the other cake that it was hot, because the other cake, it helped it dissolve the cocoa.
Right.
This one, it's good. You don't want cold, but warm is fine. This is a lovely smooth mixture that I just want to, you know, taste. It's delicious. All right. So now we're going to use the mixer again, and we're going to alternate. I think for the sake of noise, we might just do the beginning with I'll just whisk and you do it, just so that.
So in 2 or 3 goes, there's not a lot of dry mixture. You're going to pour in some of the dry and then some of the wet. And
do this with your electric mixer. You don't need to fold it gently. It's just it's very hardy cake. And we're just going to mix it.
Mix it in. You don't want any lumps of flour left.
So do this in the electric mixer. That's the recommendation. The tea has been sitting there for about 10 minutes, so it's very strong. And just before this session, we had a debate whether it matters how strong the tea is or not. Natty thinks strong tea is great, and it probably doesn't matter at all.
No,
but
it really doesn't.
Yeah. So with your electric mixer, make sure you're combining it. You know, if you put all the flour in at once, it just goes exactly into your face. Do we need all the tea? Yes, you're using 3/4 cup of tea, and you need all of it.
Yeah, I'm just doing it in gradually so that the tea can also splash up if you pour it all in at once.
So
that's it. We might give it one.
Yeah, I think we will. So is everybody up to where I just want to make sure everybody's following along. We have put in our wet ingredients, our dry ingredients, alternating with the hot tea or the warm tea by now.
You might want to give it one scrape down with your spatula just to get all the flour off the edges. And then we're just going to do a mix to make sure it's all combined and get out all the lumps.
So everybody get your mixes and... Beautiful. Starting to smell like Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
Remember to scrape down the sides.
Easy as that.
So that is the batter. Now, if you are making a lot of it, some people are making lots to give to friends, just make and bake as you go, because this batter's got it's got self-raising flour with baking powder, and it's got bicarb in the mixture. You don't want to let it sit too long and let the bicarb sort of run out of steam.
Yeah. You want it in the oven as quickly as you can now that you've mixed the dry into the wet.
Yeah. Okay. So we're using Dilmah leaf tea because that's the tea that I have here, and you can use any tea you like. If you like Earl Grey would be lovely. I think any tea that you fancy would be very good. Although there is quite a lot going on with all the spices and stuff, so you don't. Well, if you love a certain tea, then use it by all means. So
all right, pour it into your tin.
This is a very liquid mixture, and that's the thing you've got to be careful of. If you want to do it in a spring form tin, it's really hard because, you know, they often leak. So what I would do is do 2 layers of foil around it. But spring form's hard because it's not the right. You really need a cake with a ring tin for this cake. I think if you're going to do it in a round.
And that's why it's nice to have something that helps you pull it out.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to pour it in, and you'll see how liquid it is. And for this tin, it's perfect because it comes exactly 2/3 of the way up. Okay, so everyone should be putting their batter now into the lined tin or into your lined muffin pan with patty pans or whatever you're cooking it in.
Yeah.
Someone emailed me this morning. I didn't have a chance to answer. You can divide it into 2 smaller containers really easily. It's a very, very versatile cake. You can double the mixture and make a big cake. If you double it, I'll show you the tin that we actually use. We used to sell these, and then we stopped being able to get them. They were absolutely fantastic, and I have a good supply now. But they do stick together. They do get sticky, which I don't like. I need to get them out. This is them. Anyway, this is my honey cake tins that I used to.
Yeah, it would work beautifully in a bundt tin as well.
This one. So this is a silicone non-stick, huge tin, which is perfect for double the recipe or the original one, which was this size. And I used to spray it with, I hate to say it, the canola spray works the best to get it out of the tin. I'm sorry to say it.
So your cake is now going into your preheated oven, 180 degrees, not fan force, and that is for 25 minutes. And then you're going to turn your oven down to 160 and cook it for another 25 minutes at 160. And then it should be perfect.
Now, what you'll need to look at is at the end of the cooking time, just open the oven and give it a bit of a wobble. And if it's liquidy in the top, then you need to keep cooking it. And you've just got to know your oven with this cake, and just keep cooking it until it has just stopped wobbling, okay? And then take it out. We'll talk about that in 1 second. Let me just ask these questions. Would you double it for a round bundt tin? For a big bundt tin,
Yes.
I would double it for sure. Same amount of ingredients, exactly, just double it.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can split it into 3, you can split it into 4, it's so versatile. Why not fan force? Because that's the oven we use for our testing, that it's not fan force. But you need to know your oven. And this is cooked at 180 degrees for starters, which is the temperature that you'll cook most cakes at.
Yeah.
Where can you find the full recipe? The full recipe is on the email you got confirming your registration, or it's in our new book, Now for Something Sweet.
Yes.
But it is on your registration email, the whole recipe. Yes, temperatures. Okay, so we're going 180 degrees Celsius for 25 minutes, and then turning it down to 160 for 25, and then checking if it needs any extra.
Sometimes mine needs an extra 5, and that's about it.
It really depends on the depth of the tin more than anything else.
Yeah.
So if you've got a smaller tin but it's higher, it actually might take longer to cook. Top or bottom shelf, I do everything in the middle.
Me too.
Yeah. How long can you keep this, and how to store? That's a really good question.
Okay, so let's have a look.
This is one we made earlier, and
I know, and your house will smell beautiful with the honey cakes cooking away.
it has a stickiness that I want you to see. You can see it, and that's what makes this cake something else. And when I touch it, this one's actually been in the freezer, you can hear it's got a stickiness to it that you want. So I cool it in the tin. If you need the tin to keep baking, then let it cool a bit and then remove it, and allow the cake to completely cool, and then wrap it in either, look, my preference is probably,
Well, I'd actually keep it in that paper.
yeah, definitely in the paper,
and
then some
over it for that
Glad wrap.
thing.
But I would
Yeah.
wrap the actual, so wrap the loaf in Glad wrap, and then a foil. That's what I do, especially if you're freezing it. You need both. And then put it in the, you're not in the fridge, you put it in the pantry tonight, and then on Friday you will have a perfect cake.
Because it gets better each day. What are we now? Tuesday. So
Friday it'll be
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be unbelievable.
It really gets better every day.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ate this now, there's
It's
nothing wrong
lovely.
with it. It's just not as amazing as
it gets a
in
bit
3
denser
days.
and a bit stickier.
Yeah.
And all the flavors come out.
Yeah. Danny says the batter is yum. Batter is really yum.
It is. It is. I know.
So if you find your cake tin is too small, just eat some batter and then you'll be fine. Okay. If you do muffins, do you turn the oven down or bake at the high temperature?
Well, what I did was my muffins baked for exactly the 25 minutes of the first 180. I took them out and then I turned the oven down for the rest of my mixture in my pan. So it should be 180. 25 minutes was perfect for me.
The other thing I want to just tell you is sometimes you'll have a dip in the middle of the loaf, and you don't need to worry about that. For me, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Hardly a dip.
Don't worry about that at all. It's rustic, and we love rustic. We were also debating whether you would, to serve this, I would probably icing sugar just because it looks nice, and that's what I would do. You wouldn't.
I wouldn't. I don't think it needs any more.
Yeah. So,
but whatever you
want.
can
icing sugar it to serve or not. Okay. So cooking time again, 180 degrees for 25 minutes, and then turn it down to 160 for 25 minutes. And again, look at your cake. I would suggest you look at your cake. Often. Not.
No.
Probably look at it for the first time after 40 minutes in total, and just see how it's going. Some ovens are really hot. My 2 ovens are actually different from each other, so I know one will cook it faster. Just check, because once it's overcooked, you can't go backwards. Just have a little peek. have a little shake of the shelf. And if it's really wobbly, you know it's got ages to go. Check it after the 50 minutes as well. And you might need to add another 10 or another 15. For muffins, look at them after 20. Keep it at 180 and they should be fine 20, 25.
Yeah.
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 Remember, when you fill your tin, do not fill more than 2/3 because it will overflow. I suggest always cooking your honey cakes on a tray anyway, because if it does overflow, then you've got a little extra cake on the side for you to nibble on.
Yeah.
Yes, Nikki, I keep it wrapped. We keep it wrapped for 3 days. Don't touch it. If you don't need the tin, if you're going to not bake anymore, you can actually leave it to cool in the tin and wrap it and leave it in the tin in the pantry wrapped. Thank you, Debbie. Debbie says, thank you, lovely ladies. This session has brought such joy to me, and I'm sure all of us watching from lockdown in Melbourne. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. I really hope you guys in lockdown are doing okay. We say this every week. We feel for you. We think about you a lot and hope that these sessions at least distract you for a little bit from what's going on. And hopefully it'll all be over soon and you'll be free and we'll stay free. That's what we're hoping.
And tomorrow we're back to cook some more.
Yeah.
So please come and join us again.
I'll tell you about tomorrow. Just to answer someone's question about freezing the cake. No, I wouldn't freeze it now for 3 days. If you want it for 10 days time, I would freeze them. Okay. So can you put it back into the bundt pan after you've taken it out? I would take it out and wrap it or leave it in the tin.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would want to put it back. So maybe for transportation, yes, but it's hard because you don't want to put it in the wrong place with the grooves in the wrong place. Okay, let's talk about tomorrow. So we're going to be back tomorrow, if you have not had enough of us, at 11 o'clock, where you are going to join us while we make our Friday night briskets. We're both going to make our brisket for Friday night. I'm going to pick mine up from the butcher soon. We are making honey glazed brisket with carrots and prunes and potatoes. It is a one pot dish to serve at the table. It's got everything in it you want. It is divine for Jewish New Year or any time. Then if you register for the event, go onto our Facebook or our Instagram, you'll see the link. And we give you a list of the ingredients that you can follow along and cook in real time. But of course, at the end of the session, you'll have yours in the oven. It takes about 3 to 4 hours to cook. So we won't be with you for all that time, as much as we'd like to.
I'm just so excited that I'm making my dinner for Friday night tomorrow.
I know, that's right.
Done.
Sorry, and this is going to be my honey cake for Friday night.
Exactly.
So we'll be done and you'll all be done. And then come Friday, we'll be able to sit and relax and have a cup of tea and not have to be stressed about it. Okay, repeating the Glad wrap thing. Yes. So allow the cake to cool fully, 100% cool.
Cold.
Room temperature.
Cold.
No warmth at all. Leave it in the baking paper if you'd like. 1 or 2 wraps of Glad wrap quite firmly, not too tight, but quite firmly, and then a foil, and then put it in the pantry or in a cupboard.
You just want all the air, no air getting to it.
Yeah. So Linda, you bought your brisket. Do you want it rolled? No, you don't want it rolled for this recipe. We're going to cook it flat. Yeah. Okay. Can you eat the cake tonight?
You can eat it now if you want.
Yes, of course you can. But I would even suggest between now and tonight, when it cools down, just wrap it up. Wrapping does something to it, and it really changes the texture and makes it better. But of course, eat it tonight. It's delicious.
And let us know how it goes.
So please remember to send us your pics or post them on Instagram or Facebook and tag us Monday Morning CC. We will repost any that tag us, of course, in our stories, because we're very excited to share the honey cake joy.
Yeah.
And if you've got any other questions for your Jewish New Year meal, a lot of them will be answered if you go to our website. We've got a great post where the Russian layered honey cake picture is, with all ideas for sides and salads and mains and desserts and everything for New Year.
Oh, and I'm halfway through making my Russian layer cake. I've made the layers, and what day is it? Wednesday. Oh, so maybe tomorrow I'll make the filling mixture.
Yeah, and fill it. Yeah. It's really a beautiful one, the Russian layered honey cake. We've got 2 really good videos on our IGTV, which is on Instagram. It's one of the tabs. One is Maddie making the new cinnamon, apple and honey challah, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The recipe's in our new book. And the other one is I made the layered honey cake with Sydney chef Michael Rantisi. And you can follow along both of them step by step. I apologise in Maddie's. I just found out now that her top of her head's cut off in the whole video. So I'm sorry about that. I need to see if I can fix it.
As long as you see what I'm doing, that's the main thing.
So someone said, can we cook the brisket in a slow cooker? We'll talk about that tomorrow. I'm not sure that you
not
get the
this
stickiness.
dish,
I think
no.
you don't get that glazed
And it
stickiness.
doesn't brown it
Yeah.
well enough.
You'd have to finish it in the oven, I think, if you did. We'll talk about brisket tomorrow, though. So everyone, grab your ingredients for tomorrow. We hope to see you then.
Yeah.
This session will be recorded and will be on our YouTube channel when I get round to it, which will be sometime late this afternoon with the recipe. Please have lots of honey cake joy. Please bake lots of them and send us pics. We'd love to see them. Someone can't find the link for tomorrow, so go to our Instagram and there's a picture of the brisket, and I'm posting another one today, and you'll see the link there. We're almost at capacity for that one, which is 500. So get in quick if you want to join.
Yeah.
And
Love to have you.
Great to have you all here. Shanatava to Atlanta, Seattle,
Yes.
everybody, wherever you are.
Yes.
We're actually going to do a few sessions in October in the US and Canada's time zone, because our book is being released in the
Yes.
US on the 3rd of November. So we're going to have an October for all of you in the Northern Hemisphere. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Wishing everyone a Shana Tova, a very safe and healthy new year.
Yeah, Shana Tova.
And lots of honey cake.
Yeah, so wishing you all everything for the new year, including COVID-free.
Yeah.
No more pandemic. Let's hope the next year is a good one. And lots of love from us if we won't see you again, but you know where to find us. Monday Morning CC on Instagram, Monday Morning Cooking Club on Facebook, and we're here to help.
See you.
Shana Tova. Bye everyone.
Happy cooking.
See you all.